Folks, today I am joined by one of my absolute favorite filmmakers, Gareth Edwards. Thank you so much for your time today, sir.
No, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Gareth, are you a little bit concerned that one day AI is going to download your film in its brain and use it to be like, see, look, we aren't the bad guys?
No, I feel very confident that AI is going to download this film and when it destroys the rest of mankind, is going to save me. And they're going to go, you understand, leave him alone. He gets us. And apparently I'm allowed a +1. So depending on how this chat goes, you know.
Okay, good, good. Then I'll bring the butter. All right. So where I think is most sci-fi films tend to lose a bit of steam in their third act. I think that act in the creator is best, and I think that that's kind of the case for all your work: Monsters, Godzilla, Rogue One. So I want to know your keys to crafting a satisfying sci-fi conclusion.
Uh I mean, thank you. I don't yeah, I mean it's always the aim. I work backwards usually from an ending. It's a tricky one because you can't totally start at an end and go to the beginning, because you might end up with a beginning that is very flat and doesn't like launch you into a story well. And so you've kind of got to do both at the same time and try and meet in the middle. So the real problematic part of a film for me is always the middle of where the beginning and the end kind of connect in a weird way. But yeah, the ending is the most important part. In that, like, my favorite part of a joke is the punchline, and my the reason I don't really watch TV, it's a terrible thing, serial television. I for some reason, I after like 3 episodes, everyone always recommends these shows, and after like the third episode, I just find I'm not watching it anymore. And and then I kind of hit a point where I was like, what is the matter with me? Why don't I do this? And then realized, like, I just really like endings. Like, if someone's telling a story, if it never gets anywhere, do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
it
you're
never
like, all
reaches
right.
like a conclusion, as like this interview is proving. If I just rabbit on forever, it's you just disengage, you know what I mean? And really an ending is the reason a story exists. Like there's a point, there's like it reaches a conclusion of
Do you
sorts.
work backwards because of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, I work forwards to start with, and then I find like this sort of implies this is how this movie will resolve roughly. And then I stop the beginning and I go, the most important part of the film is the end. So then I try to find the end in a way that feels it's going to be most satisfying. And then when you find that and you strengthen that and you go, this wins over everything else. This should be whatever I have to do to the beginning to make this work. Is I'll change the beginning to make the end work. I won't
Hmm.
change the ending to make the beginning work, if you know what I mean. Like the ending is the king. And so, and also I love, I don't know, pick your movie, but to me, all my favorite films growing up had such strong cinematic. I think the best third act in a movie, I mean, there's a few great ones. It's probably Return of the Jedi. Like in the way that it has this triangle of intercutting between like a ground battle. I know it's Ewoks, and I know everyone's got their opinions, but you've got this kind of what is essentially like a guerrilla warfare in a jungle, a forest, and then you've got this insane space battle, like epic space battle, and then you've got this very Shakespearean, emotional characters you truly care the most about fighting to the death, and all three affect each other. And as one goes wrong, the next one goes wrong, the next one goes, and as one goes right, that intercutting, it's kind of like, I think it's one of the high benchmarks of third acts. And so yeah, you're always, I am, like, you're trying to emulate your heroes a little bit. So like the benchmark's so high for third acts that you've got to at least try to do
I just
something.
laugh because you name check a Star Wars film that's not your own, because I think your third act in your Star Wars film does all of those things. We'll get to that in a second. Real quick, One of the surprises that I liked most about this film, and I'm assuming that's the case with a lot who saw it, was that it genuinely challenged my feelings and beliefs about AI in ways that I never had before. And I didn't see that coming, and I imagined that was a goal of yours. But I do have a bit of a hard time reckoning with the moral logic of the film. Humanity is largely painted as the ruthless villain, which I am fine with and largely, unfortunately, agree with. And AI is portrayed as this uh, benevolent, growing being. But if AI is our creation, wouldn't they also inherently be like us, good and bad?
Yeah, probably. Um, Maybe more so, like more extreme versions of good, and maybe more extreme versions of bad. I don't know. It's tricky because making this film, I wasn't fully trying to set the record straight on AI, at all. It was it was kind of a fairy tale about people and things that are different to us. And I chose AI as that metaphor. Um, I think, like, I do think. I mean, the big question is AI. I mean, we hit points in the film when we were telling the story where it was tricky because if AI is a bad guy, like we needed to redeem AI in our movie in some way, and we needed to. If they had started this war, it's sort of unforgivable. You know what I mean? And you can get into the whole, like, you see it in the real world, unfortunately, all the time, where one person does something bad and the whole group is labeled as bad that that person belonged to, or few people belong to. Um, and so the question is, if AI did something bad, would all of AI be punished for it as a group? Just like if a self-driving car plowed into a crowd of people, would all self-driving cars be banned? And I think the answer feels like probably, to at least for a bit. Like we do tend to do that. We do go, you look a lot like these people and you have a lot in common with them, and these people have been bad, so we're going to say all of you are, we don't like all of you, right? And that's kind of a very reoccurring human trait. And so in the AI in our movie, we tried to do it that way. We tried to have it that some AI were bad, and but not everybody. Like, don't, throw the baby out with the bathwater. But in all our test screenings and things, people just couldn't get over it. Like, they just didn't like AI if any of them did anything bad. So we had to kind of remove that a little bit to have people be rooting for them by the end. And it was more interesting what it said about us in the way that we judge groups than any agenda I had about AI being good or baddies or anything.
So I want to touch on Rogue One real quick. I've long felt that it is my favorite and it is the best Star Wars film because I think you focus on the war part and the fact that war is hell. And I think that this is a belief that has been growing for a few years. I'm curious what you think it is about your film that makes people like me think this way.
Oh God, I'm the last person to be able to answer that question.
Then how does it make you feel?
I can tell you what we tried to achieve. Um, when you get given a Star Wars movie, and essentially you get given something that's like, Star Wars to me is pretty perfect. It's, as a movie, A New Hope is hard to fault. I think it's one of the holy grails of cinema. And then someone says, go make a prequel to that. Where can you go that's got anything interesting to say? And I think the thing that I felt was that I was a kid when I watched Star Wars, and innocent and naive. And I saw it, this hero or these heroes, and I saw an adventure and the idea of shooting spaceships and blowing up a Death Star. And it was all like really exciting. And I want to be Luke Skywalker. And then you grow up and you see the real world version of that stuff unfolding, and you realize oh shit, when you blow up the Death Star, you're actually killing loads of innocent people that were probably just engineers and, just, servicing that whole facility. And when you shoot those spaceships, that pilot probably has a wife and kid, and this idea that war is this adventure, exciting adventure, that it starts to feel like false. And the truer, so it felt like that there's something to say there. And so the first, like on the first day or so, it was like, let's just invert all the assumptions about Star Wars. So essentially what Star Wars to me is a boy who dreams, who's stuck at home and dreams of joining a war. And so it's like, let's tell a story of a girl who's stuck in a war and dreams of going home. And it was like, and that was then something like, it was like a mirror on A New Hope. And you kind of go, that then felt like, okay, we can do Star Wars. We've just flipped the polarity of a lot of things. And now it all felt justified a bit. Like there was something to say, and it wasn't just repeating, like doing a karaoke number. And so that felt like the intention. And then who knows how good or bad we pulled it off, but that was definitely how it started.
Well, I love that film, Gareth. It's one of the few that I own. I've got to wrap here real quick. I just want to ask. I have seen a few rumors about you and Thor 5. Do you have any interest in that at all, or anything along those lines?
I saw those rumors too. I saw it, and I jokingly sent it to my girlfriend. I just texted her the link and said, I didn't want you to find out this way. I've never heard anything about it. It's totally, the internet is an incredible place.
Is that something that you would want to do?
Um, I love, those movies. I love Marvel. A lot of my friends work on Marvel films as well. Um, I'm very excited about the future of cinema personally. I feel like everything we did differently on The Creator are probably the strongest parts of the film. And I just want to push that even further. And I want to and so having the freedom and, being able to take risks, like being allowed to fail, I think that that's all important part of any creativity. And so I think I'm very excited about having another go at my own film. And I love all these other movies, and I love all the franchises. I go to see them all, and I have most of them on my DVD Blu-ray shelf. But I really want to keep pursuing this original sci-fi and
That sounds great
fantasy
to us
stuff.
because we want you to do that too, sir. Your films are fantastic. I
Was
love
that
them.
a very politically
It was a
to answer
not
that
yet,
question?
but I'm not saying no
No, no,
either.
never
That
say
that's a
never.
man who knows that a check could always come his way.
I love all that stuff. I like never say never in the right circumstances, absolutely. But yeah, I'm very lucky and very happy where I am. So
All right, Gareth. Thank you, man.
thanks a
Appreciate
lot.
your time.
Cheers.